Hello students, welcome to Acube IAS. My name is Dinesh Ahirrao. I am teaching political science in Delhi University, and today we are going to discuss certain basic concepts which are very important in order to understand GS paper 2. Right, there are various concepts, and this particular lecture is the part. I mean, this is the second lecture regarding the basic concepts. In the first lecture, we have discussed the Constitution. What is the Constitution? What is the meaning and significance of the Constitution? Now, in this lecture, we are going to discuss four concepts. Number one, what is state? Right. Second, what is difference between state and government? Then third is what is nation? What is nation? And what is difference between nation and state? Fourth, society. What is society? And again, what is difference between state and society, right? And fifth is associations. There are various types of associations in every society, right? So we are going to discuss these five concepts in detail. See, more often than not, I have seen that students, they do not have clarity over this five concepts. More often than not, I have seen that, for example, students use the term state and government interchangeably. Now, that is not correct. Conceptually, that is not correct. Students feel that state and nation is same. No, they are not same, right? And same is the case with society. So we should have absolute conceptual clarity in order to understand various concepts of polity, right? So that's the purpose of today's class, that you should know. If someone asks you what is state and how state is different than government, then you will be able to, you'll be in a position to tell you the difference. And after this lecture, I hope that you will have a conceptual clarity regarding these five concepts. All right, so let's start one by one. Now, first, it's state. Now, every day we use the term state in one way or the other way. For example, we say state of Maharashtra, or we say state of economy, or sometimes we also say state of India, right? But there is a difference in the way we use the term state in social sciences. So what is state? What exactly constitutes state? Right? So what is the definition of the state? Now listen to me very carefully. I am writing the definition, right? So state is a political organization. State is a political organization which represents a sovereign people who occupy definite or fixed territory. Now, this is the definition of state. State is a political organization or a political institution which represents a sovereign people who occupy a definite or a fixed territory. This is the definition of the state. All right, so now before I explain each and every element of this definition, I would like to discuss, let's have a little discussion on why do we need state. State की जरूरत ही क्यों है? Now, you know that human beings are social animals, right? We as a human beings cannot live in isolation. So we are part of society. We cannot live without society. Why? Because we are social animal. Like, we are social beings. All right. Now, so all of us live in the society. All of us are part of one society or the other society. For example, all of us are part of Indian society. At the same time, we are also part of various communities as well, right? So we cannot live in isolation because individual's nature is social. We are social beings, right? We cannot live in isolation. Nobody can limit himself or herself only to the family. We have to engage with the society, right? Now, living in a society is necessary, but not a sufficient condition. Why? Why do we need state? Now we have society, like human beings are living in a society since time immemorial. But without existence of central political authority, without existence of central political authority, to regulate the behavior of human beings, there will be chaos, there will be anarchy, and there will be disorder. So that's why every society requires a centralized political authority which will frame rules, which will execute the rules, and which will enforce the rules and punish the violators of that rule. And that central political authority is known as the state. So human beings' desire for orderly and peaceful existence led to creation of institution of the state. Without state, orderly and peaceful coexistence of the society in the society is not possible. And that's why we require state, to ensure law and order, to ensure stability, and to ensure development. Without peace and security, there cannot be development, right? So that's why we need state. Also, it is only within a state individuals can attain their fullest potential. State is very essential for progress of human beings. Understand this. State has some positive functions to perform as well. And in this context, state is very important, right? Right? Fine. So coming back to this definition, state is a political organization which represents a sovereign people which occupies a definite and fixed territory. Now, from this particular definition, we will realize that the institution of state has, or the state, the state, institution of state has following four essential elements. So what are those? From this definition, right? I'll come back to this definition again. Now first important element of state. What are we discussing? Elements of state. Definition तो देख लिया, लेकिन what are the elements? What are the essential elements of the state? Without these elements, without these four elements, state cannot exist. The political institution will not be called a state without existence of this following four elements. Now, what are they? First is population. State is a human organization. It is the people who make the state. Without people, state cannot exist. Without a group of people who are organized, state cannot exist. Population, a decent population of people, a group of people, is essential for existence of the state. So without people or without population, without group of people, state cannot exist. For example, Antarctica is not a state. Why? Because sizable human population does not live there. That's why it cannot be called as state in strict sense of the term. All right? So it is the people who makes the state and not the other way around. Understand this. So population is inseparable element of state. All right? Second important aspect of the state is fixed or definite territory. Now this is very important. Fixed or definite territory. Without territory, there is no use of state. I mean, state cannot exist without territory. The way, similarly, state cannot exist, the way we argue that state cannot exist with population, similarly, state cannot exist without territory. and that territory should be fixed and definite. If the territory is not fixed or definite, that will not be called as state in real sense of the term, in strict sense of the term. From conceptual perspective, state cannot exist without a fixed and definite territory. Now, why fixed and definite territory? For example, the tribal communities who used to migrate from one place or the other place, they did not constitute state. Why? Because they did not reside or they did not have fixed or definite territory. That's why they did not constitute state. They had some kind of political authority, political institutions, but they did not have what is called as fixed or definite territory. All right. Now, why it is required? Now, fixed and definite territory is very important in order to establish centralized political authority. If the territory is not fixed, if territory keeps on changing, then the centralized political authority will not be effective or will not be efficient. Imagine a situation, इंडियन स्टेट का जो टेरिटरी है आज अभी कुछ है, 5 साल के बाद कहीं और बदल रहा है, हिमालय के दूर उधर वो साइड जा रहा है, फिर कभी यूरोपियन इसमें हमारी टेरिटरी शिफ्ट हो रही है, राइट. सो इन ऑर्डर टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूट अ स्टेट, द डेफिनेट और फिक्स टेरिटरी इज वेरी वेरी essential, very important, because if you have because the centralized political authority can be efficient, can be established only in a fixed or definite territory. It is only when the state has fixed and definite territory, state will be able to formulate the law and implement the law. There will be a clarity. इसलिए fixed territory होनी जरूरी है. All right. And second, fixed territory is also important to conduct external relations. Right now, India have fixed territory. That's why we can conduct external relations with our neighbors. It is the territory. It is the territory which separates one state from the other state. Understand this. Why we call as India as why we say that this particular territory is this particular land is called as India's Indian state, because it's a territory. It is the territory which separates one nation from the other nation. All right, understood? Fine. Third, government. Government. Achha, one more point I forgot here to tell you. Now, there is difference between land and territory. You know, the land becomes territory when a group of people live there. They permanently reside there. So that's why land and the term land and territory cannot be used interchangeably. Because land exists everywhere. It becomes territory only when a group of people, they reside there permanently. All right, understand this. Fine. Next is government. Very, very important. State cannot exist without the government. Now, what is government? Now, government is one of the most important elements of the state. It is through government. It is through government the laws of the states, law of the state are framed and implemented and enforced. So what is government? So government is basically a visible manifestation. Government is a visible manifestation of state. All right, right. So laws of the, I mean, without government, there is no use of having just a population or a territory. There is a requirement of centralized political authority, which will exercise power and which will regulate our human behavior. That's why government is essential. All right. Now I'm going to differentiate between state and government after a while. Just understand that this is also an essential element of the state. All right. Fourth, and the defining and the most significant characteristic of the state is sovereignty. Even if you have population fixed, which lives in a fixed or definite territory and have some sort of government, that particular institution cannot be called as state if it is not sovereign. If it is not sovereign. So what is sovereignty? Now, sovereignty means supreme power or a supreme authority within a definite territory. That is called a sovereign. When we say that Indian state is sovereign, it means that Indian state is supreme. Indian state has supreme power and authority within its territory. And when we say that state is supreme, or when we say that state is sovereign, it means that state is supreme. When we say that state is sovereign, means state is highest institution. When we say that Indian state is a sovereign, it means that there is no overarching authority. There is no overarching authority which is over and above the state. It is the state which is supreme within a given territory. There is no other institution to which state has to obey. No. It is the state which has the supreme power. All other organizations, all other institutions, all other associations are secondary to the state. It is the state which is sovereign, and it is the sovereignty which differentiates state from other associations and institutions. Understand this. And now sovereignty, I hope meaning of sovereignty is clear. Supreme power and authority. State is independent to control its own affairs within its territory, as well as when it comes to conducting external relations. So sovereign state is also a state which is not subjected to external control. Right? When we say that India is a sovereign state, then we are not subjected to control of any other state. United States of America or any other country for that matter cannot tell us what we should do and what should not do. And that's why whenever there is a Kashmir issue raised by the other countries, we say that this is India is a sovereign country. It is our internal matter, and within our internal matter or internal affairs, Indian state is sovereign. We have supreme power and authority to regulate our own affairs. As a sovereign nation, no other country has right to interfere into our internal affairs. So that's the sovereignty. That's the meaning of sovereignty. Sovereignty means supreme power and authority in internal affairs as well as external affairs. So sovereignty is of two types, right? First is internal, and second is external. Internal sovereignty means the supreme power and authority of the state within its territory, within its internal. State has supreme power to regulate its own affairs. Okay? And all the other institutions, associations, they are secondary, they are subordinate in front of state. They have to obey the laws and rules of the state. For example, in today's newspaper, Government of India said that Twitter, even if Twitter has their own, Twitter as a multinational corporation, they can have their own rules and regulations, but they have to obey. They have to obey the laws of the Indian state, because within a territory, Indian state is sovereign. So when we say that, please take down the matter or the tweets which are inciting violence, or which propagate the communal thinking, the other institutions have to obey the state. Why did the Government of India is saying that the Twitter has to obey the laws of India? Why? Because India is a sovereign state. I hope this is you're getting it. Okay? Internal sovereignty. Now, even in the external affairs, India is sovereign. So sovereignty means the another element of sovereignty is external sovereignty. It means that a sovereign state is not subjected to any kind of external control. If a country which is subjected to external control, it will not be called as a sovereign state. If a state is being regulated by other state, then that will not be called as sovereign state, because one of the essential elements of the sovereignty is independence to manage or conduct foreign affairs or external affairs. For example, India. Now, no country can tell us about our relationship with, say, United States of America or say Russia. No, United States of America can't tell us that you should not go closer to Russia because we consider Russia as our enemy. No. In terms of conducting external affairs, Indian state is sovereign. We are independent. There cannot be any interference in our external affairs, the way we manage our external affairs. So that is called as sovereignty in external manner, external affairs. So understand this. Okay, I hope sovereignty is clear. Now, Indian state was not sovereign before, say, when we adopted and enacted our constitution. No, because we were subjected to external control. We were a colony of Britain. All right, fine. So these are the four essential elements of the state: population, fixed and definite territory, government, and sovereignty. And all these elements should exist simultaneously. Absence of any one of the elements will nullify the state. That particular institution will not be called as the state. For example, even before we adopted and enacted our constitution, or even before we got, even before our constitution was enforced on 26th of January 1950, India had population, India had fixed and definite territory, and India have government as well. But India was not state. It became state only when our Constitution of India declared India as a sovereign democratic republic, independent republic, right? समझ में आया? So all these elements should coexist simultaneously. Absence of any one of the element will nullify the state. That particular institution will not be called as the state. Now I hope this is clear. Okay, fine. Now next. So whenever there is a question, whenever someone asks you that what is a state, then coming back to the definition, right? What did we say? What was our original definition of the state? State is a political institution or an organization which represents sovereign people. Sovereign people means sovereignty and population. State is a political institution or organization which represents sovereign people who reside or who occupy in a fixed and definite territory. And we can add, and have their duly formed government. So in our previous definition, this was missing, duly formed government. So now let me complete the definition. So state is a political institution or organization which represents a sovereign people who occupy or who reside in a fixed territory and have duly formed government of their own. This is the definition of the state. So now you realize that we more often than not, we do not have that clarity. See, in civil services, conceptual clarity is very, very important. And I have seen that students lack it. And that's the purpose behind this series. यही पर्पस है हमारा कि जो बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स है, डेमोक्रेसी क्या होती है, व्हाट इज मोनार्की, हाउ इट इज डिफरेंट than republic. These are sort of concepts which are going to cover in this series. Alright, so conceptual clarity होनी बहुत जरूरी है. अगर conceptual clarity नहीं है तो आप confuse होगे and you will not get good marks. Alright, even though there will not be any question in UPSC say what is state, what are the essential element of state, but the understanding about the concept of state will help you to understand other related concepts. Right? When we say why India is saying other countries that you should not interfere in the affairs, our internal affairs, you should not comment on Kashmir because India is a sovereign. Now you will realize that yes, why? Because India is a sovereign country and sovereignty is an essential element of state. So conceptual clarity about these particular issues will help you to understand the other related issues, and that's why it is very important. Okay, this lecture is very important in that sense. Now next is, what is difference? What is difference? Difference between state and government. Now let's discuss it. Now I have seen that more often than not, we use the terms state and government interchangeably or simultaneously. Sometimes we say state of India, sometimes we say government of India. So what is the difference? Are they same? No. The term state and government, they are not same. The institution of state and government, they are not at all same. Now what is the difference? If you look it in the strict sense of the term, conceptually state और government ये दोनों अलग institutions है, अलग concepts है, दोनों same नहीं. We cannot use the term state and government interchangeably in strict sense of the term. Okay, so what is the difference? First, now in our definition, or when we discuss the elements of the state just now, we've seen that state has 4 elements, and one of the elements of the state was the government. So meaning government is just a one element of the state, right? One element, just an element. Government is just one element, just one part of the state. Apart from government, state also has other 3 elements as well, which are population, territory, fixed and definite territory, and sovereignty. So government is just one part of the state. So state is a larger entity. State is a larger entity, and government is one of the entity. Population, right, territory, and sovereignty. So government is a part of a whole. इसको बोलते हैं स्टेट. You can write this, you can draw this diagram, right? स्टेट के अंदर बहुत सारे एलिमेंट्स होते हैं, and government is just a part of the state. Meaning state is a larger entity. State is a comprehensive entity as compared to government. Government is just a part of state. Government just exercises the powers on behalf of the state. Government is nothing but visible manifestation of the state. Are you getting it? Government exercises the power not on its own, but on behalf of the state. So which is a larger entity? Which is more important entity, state or a government? It is the state. Alright? So government merely exercises the authority on the behalf of the state. What does it mean? It means that the powers of the state are merely delegated. Power of the government are delegated and derivative. They are derived from the state. Government does not have original powers. The powers of the government, they are delegated by the state, and derivative. State interact with us. State talks with us through the government. It is through the government various powers and functions of the state are performed. It is through the government various laws and rules are framed, implemented, and executed in a particular state. It is the government through which the collective will of the people of the state, it is formulated, it is expressed, and it is executed. So understand this, that the government is just a means to an end. Government is means, state is an end. गवर्नमेंट क्या है? मीन्स है, एक मीडियम है, एंड एंड इज स्टेट, मीनिंग गवर्नमेंट इज जस्ट अ सर्वेंट ऑफ द स्टेट. State is master, government just serves the state. The government of India serves the state of India. Understand this. ठीक है? और इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं कि कॉन्सेप्ट्स क्लियर होने बहुत जरूरी है. सो कमिंग बैक टू दिस पॉइंट, that the powers of the government are delegated and derivative, whereas the powers of the state are real and original. स्टेट के पावर्स रियल होते हैं, ओरिजिनल होते हैं. गवर्नमेंट के पावर्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट आर डेलीगेटेड, डेरिवेटिव. व्हाट इज द ओरिजिन ऑफ द पावर्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट? इट इज द स्टेट. राइट. सो कमिंग बैक टू दिस रिलेटेड पॉइंट, the powers of the state are the powers of the state, I'm not talking about government. Powers of the state are inherent. State has inherent powers, whereas the powers of the government does not have inherent powers. Powers of the government are derived from the constitution of the state. Capital letter में state. Powers of the state are, the state has powers, the powers of the state are inherent in state. By very nature of its structure, the state has powers. But government does not have power on its own. The powers of the government, they are derived from where? From the constitution of the state. एक स्टेट है, उसका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, वो गवर्नमेंट को पावर देता है. गवर्नमेंट को ओरिजिनल पावर्स नहीं है. It is the constitution of the state which is supreme. So it is very important to understand this difference. I hope you got it. Okay? So government is just a part of a larger whole. State is a larger entity than government. Government is just a part of state. Apart from government, state also has other entities as well. Okay, so which is bigger entity? It is the state which is bigger entity. All right, now fine. Now next difference is very, very important. Second, that state is a near permanent institution. State is a near permanent institution. Why did I use the term near? Because state continues to exist unless and until it is attacked by the other state and made part of other state. Till then, state continues to exist permanently. Right? So state is not completely permanent institution. It can be annexed by other state as well, obviously. Right? Understand this. So that's why state is near permanent institution. State is near permanent institution. State exists so long as it is not annexed by the other state, attacked and made part of the other state. Whereas government is temporary. Government is temporary. Yes. Government come and go. Government comes and go. Government may come or go, but state continues to exist. The rulers of today may or may not be the rulers of tomorrow. Understand this. Government is a temporary. Government of India led by BJP is a temporary. 5 साल है. 5 साल के बाद that government may be replaced by another government. So understand, government is just a temporary. गवर्नमेंट आते हैं चले जाते हैं. पहले कांग्रेस का गवर्नमेंट था. द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया वाज लेड बाय द कांग्रेस पार्टी, यूपीए, coalition of parties led by Indian National Congress. Now we have NDA, National Democratic Alliance government led by BJP. In 2024 there will be elections. It is not necessary that BJP will come to power again. So government is a temporary institution. Government may come or go, but state remains there. है ना, 1947 से कितने सारे गवर्नमेंट आए और गए, state of India remained the same. All right, understood? Fine. Now, third important institution, third important definition regarding the sovereignty, that it is the state which is sovereign. It is the state which has supreme power and authority. Sovereignty is an essential element of the state, but not the government. All right, this is the third difference. State sovereignty of any in a given territory, sovereignty belongs to the state. Government is not sovereign. It is the state which is sovereign. To put it differently, it is the constitution of state is a sovereign. For example, in India, constitution of state is sovereign. All right, fine. Now, fourth or third, whatever it may be, that the structure of the state remains same everywhere. The structure of the state remains same everywhere. Meaning everywhere, take it state of United States of America, take state of UK, so on and so forth, state of India. The structure of the state remains same, meaning everywhere state has four elements: population, territory, fixed territory, government, sovereignty. But the form of the government differs from state to state. For example, United States of America have presidential form of government, whereas India have parliamentary form of government. So form and nature of government might change, but the structure or a form of state remains the same. चार एलिमेंट हर जगह पे है, हर जगह पे देखो, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स हैज टेरिटरी, इट इज अ सॉवरेन, इट हैज पीपल, ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल, इट हैज फिक्स्ड टेरिटरी एज वेल, एंड इट हैज गवर्नमेंट. But the type of the government changes in according to the country. For example, another way of categorization of government is UK is a constitutional monarchy, whereas India is a republic. We have republican form of government, whereas Britain has monarchical form of government. It has monarchy. So form of government might change, but the state remains the same. Now, historically, who came first? Who came first? State or government? What do you think? Think about it. If you look at the origin, which came first? State came first or government came first? So if we talk about the origin, the institution of state is of recent origin. Understand, state is a modern concept. The term state was for the first time used in the late 16th century. It was used for the first time by Italian diplomat known as Niccolo Machiavelli. It was Niccolo Machiavelli in his writing used the term state for the first time in late 16th century, second half of the 16th century. So before that, there was no concept of state. Yes, state existed in one form or the other. But states have evolved from Greek city-state, small communities, to medieval kingdoms, to the absolute monarchy, communist state, fascist state, and today we have welfare states. This is how the state has evolved. But the concept of the state is of recent origin. But government is old. ये चार एलिमेंट जो है, ये स्टेट को ये चार एलिमेंट होना चाहिए, ये जो क्लैरिटी है वो आई यूरोप में. Right, you must have heard about a Treaty of Westphalia 1648. It was during this Treaty of Westphalia the concept of state emerged. That state should have some definite territory, and no state should, and every state has right to self-determination, and its territory should not be violated. All right, so the term state is of a recent origin. The concept of state is of recent origin, but government existed. For example, even the primitive communities, even the primitive tribal communities, they had some form of government. They have some kind of elementary form of government. They had elementary form of government to regulate the and manage the community affairs. Right? Even the tribal communities of ancient India or ancient times, not only India but ancient times, they had some kind of political authority. What is government? Government is a centralized political authority which frames laws, implements laws, and executes laws. That is government, right? Okay, so there is some kind of central political authority. Okay, so this, if you look in the sense of this, then the government existed much before the state. Even the tribal communities, even the primitive tribal communities, they have elementary form of it. The form of government was not that complex which we have today. You know, the governments, they have the nature and nature and structure of the government has evolved from simple organization to complex organization. But they did have some kind of elementary government. All right. So in terms of origin, state is of recent origin. Okay. Now, sovereignty, I have made it clear that state has sovereignty, government does not have sovereignty, right? So these are predominantly, these are the differences between state and government. There are other differences as well, but I don't want to go into that detail. But just the basic purpose of this lecture is to clarify the difference and not only to list out how many differences are there. That is not a purpose. ठीक है, पर्पस इज टू अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस दैट यस स्टेट एंड गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट डिफरेंट, उसमें मल्टीपल और भी डिफरेंसेस है. ठीक है, फाइन. नाउ नेक्स्ट कॉन्सेप्ट, नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट इज नेशन. व्हाट इज नेशन and how nation is different from state. Again, here students have confusion. They use the term state and nation interchangeably. And now in modern times we use the term nation state. Together. So why do we do so? क्या significance है उसका? ठीक है, fine. So let's discuss the nation and state and what is difference between them. Now understand, state, the basis of the state, the most important distinction between nation and state lies in the basis, right? And the basis of the state is physical and political unity. Basis of the state lies in physical, meaning to say territory, fixed and definite territory, physical and political unity. The basis of state is physical and political unity, whereas the basis of nation is cultural and psychological unity. Cultural and so let me put it in a different words. State is a political and physical entity, or state is a physical and political concept, whereas nation is a cultural and psychological concept. I repeat, state is a physical and political, predominantly, speaking in real sense of the term, state is strict sense of the term. If you speak in strict sense of the term conceptually, then state is a physical and political entity or a concept, whereas nation is different. Nation is psychological and cultural concept. Nation is psychological and cultural entity. Now let me give you example of this. India was not a state before it got independence on 15th of August 1947. There was no state of India because did not, it was not independent. And we know that sovereignty is an essential element of the state. So India was not a state before gaining independence. But India was a nation. India was nation. The idea of India. India was nation since time immemorial. Understand this. Why? Because that we, what is nation? Nation means sense of belongingness. Nation means cultural or psychological unity. One of the political philosophers, Benedict Anderson, he said that nation is imagined communities. Nation is imaginary concept. Nationalism is also imagined concept. For example, we do not meet a person living in Delhi does not meet with the person who is living in Northeast or say Kashmir or say Kanyakumari. But still in the minds of these people, minds of us, in the mind of person who is living within the territory of India, there is one notion of Indian nation, that yes, all of us belong to a nation. We don't talk, we don't speak. There are 1.2 billion people, more than 1.2 billion people in India. Do they interact with each other? Do they interact regularly? Do we interact regularly with this? Is it possible? No, but still, psychologically, we consider ourselves as a part of Indian nation. So predominantly, strictly speaking, nation is cultural and psychological concept. Predominantly, yes, it has political dimensions as well. I am not saying that nation does not have political dimensions. No, it has. But predominantly speaking, the state nation is cultural and psychological entity. For example, another example, I gave you the example of India. Let me give you example of Jews. Now, Jews were they were spread across the continent of Europe, and they had some sense of psychological or cultural unity, but they did not constitute a state. There was a nation of Jews. There was a nation of Jews, but there was no state of Israel. The nation of Jews, it became state only when the state of Israel was created in 1948. So understand, nation and state, they are distinct concept. They are different. State may or may not be a nation, और नेशन में और मे नॉट बी द स्टेट. नेशन में और मे नॉट बी द स्टेट. उसके दो एग्जांपल दिए. इंडिया का था, इंडिया एज अ नेशन एग्जिस्टेड even prior to the independence, but it became state when India got independence. Jews, yeah, they have some, there was a nation of Jews, but they did not constitute a state. So nation becomes state only after that state has a fixed territory and the other elements of the state, like sovereignty, population, fixed territory, so on and so forth, government. Then only the nation becomes the state. So nation is transformed into state through gaining statehood, by achieving sovereignty, so on and so forth. Right? So nation and state, they are not same. Another example, I told you that state might not be a nation. For example, Austria-Hungary, the state of Austria-Hungary, before the World War I, it was a state, but it was not a nation. It was just a physical and political entity, but it was not a nation, because people of diverse communities, they lived together in a nation, and they did not have that psychological and cultural unity. That's why the state of Austria and Hungary before the World War I, was not a nation. State है लेकिन nation नहीं है. And the first example हमने क्या देखा? We had nation, we were nation. India was a nation, Israel was a nation, but it was not state. So understand this. We have state. A particular political institution is a state does not mean that it will be a nation. Or on the other hand, if there is a nation, then it does not mean that it will be a state. All right, why? Because nation is predominantly cultural and psychological concept. Now, another thing is that state has fixed territory or definite territory, but the nation may spread across the territories. How? Let me give you example. What I'm trying to tell you that nationality or a nation or a nationality can spread over 2 or more states. But state has fixed and definite territory, whereas nationality or nation can spread over 2 or more or different states. For example, Korean nationality. Korean nationality it is spread over 2 states. One is North Korea and another is South Korea. They have, for example, in India also, we have shared India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. We had shared past, shared history, shared civilization, but still, okay, we are divided. So the nationality can be spread over. Can be. I'm not saying it is, but nationality or a nation can spread over multiple states. For example, a person, a non-resident Indian, does not stays in the state, but he stays in another country, say United States of America, but still he or she has a sense of cultural and psychological unity. So they belong to Indian nation, but they do not belong to Indian state because they don't live it here. They are not citizens. I mean, NRIs are citizens, obviously, but think of the citizens of United States of America who have origin in India. Their parents or ancestors were Indians. Then they might have, and they have, some kind of cultural and psychological unity. They identify with particular state. All right, got it? Very good. Okay. So if you ask, now you are in a good position to differentiate between the nation and the state. Okay, that state is a predominantly political and physical concept, and nation is predominantly psychological and cultural concept. Now, another difference which I want to emphasize is that the unity of the state is external, or it is imposed from above through laws. Unity of the state is external. It is imposed from above through the laws. If you violate the laws of the state, if you speak against the state, Indian state, then the state will punish you. So understand, the unity of state is external. It is imposed from above through laws. But the unity of the nation is eternal. Because the unity of nation is based on sentiments, based on emotions. All right, so the unity of state is external. It is imposed from above through various laws. But unity of nation is eternal. It comes from within us. India as a nation, yes. This particular idea is based on emotions and sentiments. So nation is based on sentiments and emotions. For example, during India's war of independence, India's struggle for independence against the British colonial rule, We had we were united. We were united together in our fight against British colonial rule. Why? Because our unity was based on emotions and sentiments. All right. Now another difference, that state is, if you speak in real sense of the term. See, I'm a professor of political science. In terms of political science, now I know that not every one of you are a student of political science, but still, state, the state is more or less based on force or coercion. State is based on force or coercion. You know how Max Weber defined the state? Let me tell you about the Max Weber. Those who have political science optional or public administration optional or sociology as an optional, they might know about Max Weber. He was a German sociologist, and he gave the definition of state, which is very, very popular even today. How did he define state? He said that state is a human community. State is a human community which successfully claims the monopoly over the legitimate use of physical force within a fixed territory. That's how he defined the state. Let me write it. How did he define state? I mean, I have already told you what is state, but still I thought that in this context it is very important to understand the definition. That's why I'm telling you. Okay, you don't need to memorize it. In order to clarify, in order to give you some clarity, when I say that state is based on force or coercion, whereas nation is based on emotions and sentiments. That's what that is the point I want to explain through this definition. क्या था? State is based on force or coercion. There is element of force or coercion that is attached with the state, and that force and coercion of the state is exercised by coercive apparatus of the state, such as police, prisons, judiciary, military, so on and so forth. These are the parts of coercive apparatus of the state. So state is based on force and coercion. Okay, I am not justifying. I am not saying that state is only based on force or coercion. It is not based on voluntary association or willingness. No, it is not. I am not saying that. But predominantly, mainly, if you compare state with the nation, then state is based, relatively speaking, relative to nation, state is based on force and coercion, whereas nation is based on emotions and sentiments. It is based on goodwill. It is based on goodwill and common brotherhood, sense of common brotherhood. Now, coming back to the definition of Max Weber, how did he define state? Yes, state is a human community which successfully claims monopoly over the legitimate use of physical force or violence within a fixed territory. Yes, fixed. We have seen that state should have fixed territory. So he says that within a territory, it is the state, only state which has monopoly. Monopoly मतलब समझ रहे हो? That no other person is allowed to exercise the use of force, ठीक है, or violence, ठीक है, in a legitimate manner. Okay, so state is, from this definition, he is saying that state is based on force, physical force. But that force or physical force, I mean the use of physical force cannot be used in an arbitrary or a despotic manner, cannot be used in tyrannical manner. Okay, so force of state uses the physical force, state monopolizes, state has monopoly to use the physical force, but that should have the legitimate. State has legitimate use of physical force. Yes, it does not mean that other institutions, they do not use force or violence, but it is not legitimate. Terrorist groups also use within territory of India, the Naxalists or the insurgents, they also use violence, but they do not use the violence or physical force legitimately. Legitimacy matlab kya hai? Legitimacy matlab why do, when we say that Indian state is a legitimate state, it means that we voluntarily obey the laws and rules of the state, right? Fine, but still there is some element of coercion when it comes to state, but nation is predominantly nation is based on persuasion. And state is based on predominantly force or coercion. कोई अगर इंडियन स्टेट के अगेंस्ट बोलेगा उसको पनिश कर देंगे, जेल में डाल देंगे, लेकिन कोई बोलेगा नहीं यार मैं आई डोंट फील दैट आई एम अ पार्ट ऑफ इंडियन नेशन, देन यू कांट पनिश दैट पर्सन बिकॉज नेशन का कॉन्सेप्ट ही बेस्ड ऑन इमोशंस है, सेंटिमेंट्स है. सो नेशन इज बेस्ड ऑन परसुएशन. किसी को आप फोर्स नहीं कर सकते हो कि आप इस नेशन का पार्ट बनो, बट स्टेट का पार्ट आपके डिस्क्रिप्शन पे नहीं है. यू हैव टू बी पार्ट ऑफ स्टेट. ठीक है, फाइन. सो दिस इज द डिफरेंस. अच्छा, आई रियलाइज वन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग व्हेन इट कम्स टू डिफरेंस बिटवीन स्टेट एंड गवर्नमेंट. ठीक है, एंड आई फील दैट आई शुड स्पीक अबाउट दैट, एंड दैट इज we know that state is a larger entity as compared to government. Now we can criticize the government, but we cannot criticize the state. In this context, no, state and nation, I am talking. We can criticize our government and we must criticize our government. But criticizing the government and criticizing the state is not one and the same. It is different. You can criticize your government, you can criticize Prime Minister Modi, you can criticize executives, you can criticize legislature, judiciary, but you cannot go against the state. You cannot go against the state. So understand, लोगों को पता ही नहीं कि there is difference. Government को criticize करना ही चाहिए. Otherwise, how government will improve? Otherwise, how government will progress? अगर government को criticize नहीं हुआ, if there is no constructive opposition, there should be opposition, government should be criticized, but that criticism should be constructive. But you cannot say that you should not criticize government. No. It is in fact our duty to criticize the government. Why? Because it is only when we criticize the government will improve. Government will get feedback through our criticisms. Government will improve. It is very, in a democracy, it is very important to ensure accountability of the government. It is through criticizing the government we ensure accountability and transparency in the government. But there is a difference between criticizing the government and criticizing the state. Unfortunately, in India, criticizing the government is equated with criticizing the state. The moment we criticize, say, BJP government or say a government led by Narendra Modi, the people are called as anti-national. No, it is not like that. There is difference. But if you speak against the state, if you take in your hand the flag of other country and burn the flag of Indian state, then that is not acceptable. If you propagate the disintegrative ideology, destructive ideology that India should be balkanized, if you become a part of an insurgency or insurgent group which seeks to break apart from the territory of India, now that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable at all. But criticizing the government cannot be equated with this. This is very, that's why it's called a sedition or anti-national. But unfortunately, so understand that criticizing the government is not same as with the criticism of the state. So why it is not allowed? Why criticism against state is not allowed? Because state is predominant. And what will happen if you criticize the state? State will arrest you. State will put you in jail. So predominantly state is based on force or coercion, but nation is based on persuasion. You see, there is there are so many people who are part of insurgency group, separatist movement. So they cannot force the people belonging to say XYZ community to be a part of nation and participate in their struggle to get separate nation. No, because nation is based on persuasion. आप force करके किसी को जबरदस्ती बिठा के nation का part नहीं बना सकते हो आप. No. Why? Because nation is based on sentiments. Nation is based on emotions. Nation is based on sense of belongingness. That sense of we must be there. And that cannot be imposed from above through laws. That unity of the nation is eternal. It comes from within. That's what I am trying to tell you. All right. So now I hope that the difference between nation and state is clear. So what we have covered so far, we have covered about what is state, definition of the state, what are the main elements of the state, what is the difference between state and government. Then we discussed difference between state and nation. All right, we have discussed so far this concept so far. So before I proceed, let me tell you, this is a recorded video, and I'll be discussing other issues as well. If you feel that you're tired, then you can stop the video and watch it later. But do watch this video completely, because there are other concepts which I'm going to discuss. They are also very important. All right, तो अगर थक गए होंगे, pause का बटन दबाओ. I cannot pause it, right? Pause का बटन दबाओ, पानी पियो, चाय पियो, उसके बाद में वापस आके सुनो. ठीक है? Don't just exit from the video. This is very important. ठीक है? So now next is society. What is society? What is society and how society is different than the state? Or put it differently, how state is different than the society? Now again, most of the students, they use the term society, Indian society and Indian state interchangeably. Now that's not correct. Conceptually speaking, that's not correct. Society is different. The concept of society is different, and concept of state is different. Achha, whenever you use the term state in social sciences, use S in capital. Okay? So when we say that state of economy, we use small s. We do not use capital S, right? Because capital S is related to this concept of state, right? Conceptual term hai. Fine. So what is society? Now society means a group of people who live together. As simple as that. A group of people who have some shared history, language, so on and so forth, race, so on and so forth, they live together. They might live permanently, they might not live permanently, so on and so forth. Right? Okay? Fine. Now, I've told you in the beginning of this lecture, I told you that human beings are social animals. Aristotle, who is the father of political science, he said that human beings are social animals. We as in human beings cannot live in isolation. आप पूरी जिंदगी अपने घर में बैठ के बिता नहीं सकते हो. बिताओगे तो पागल हो जाओगे. ठीक है? We are not self-sufficient. We are interdependent on each other. And society is that interdependence, existence, coexistence of group of people. That is what society is. So we cannot live in isolation. And that's why we are part of society. Human beings are part of society since time immemorial. Because we are social beings. Okay? So now tell me, what is society when it comes to and what is the difference of the state? Think about it. Now society basically is a larger entity which consists of all kinds of associations, institutions, groups, so on and so forth. Society consists of all types of associations, institutions, group of people, so on and so forth. But state is only one part of the society. State is a political organization within a society. So which is larger entity and which is a part of, which is a whole and which is a part of whole. It is like when we say that state is a whole and government is part of that whole. Government is means and state is ends. So similarly, society is larger entity as compared to the state. Society consists of various types of associations or organizations: political associations, cultural associations, economic associations, so on and so forth. There are various groups. But state is only one type of organization, and that is political organization within a society. So state is a part of society, which is political organization. ठीक है? There are so many other associations and organizations in a society as well. So society is a larger entity than state. Society is just a part of, sorry, state is just a part of society. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है आपको? सोसाइटी एक लार्जर एंटिटी है. Within that society there are so many organizations and institutions. State is only one amongst those organizations and institutions. So the scope of society is broader, है ना, पूरा होल है, और इसमें सो स्टेट सिर्फ एक डॉट टाइप है ना, इट जस्ट अ पार्ट. ठीक है. सो सोसाइटी, क्या कहा मैंने? सोसाइटी is larger and wider than the state. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now, second point, society, in terms of origin, society is prior. Society is prior to the state. Now what does it mean? Now I told you that human beings are social animals and they are part of society since time immemorial. Human beings cannot live in isolation. They cannot live without society. They have to live in society. They are part and parcel. We as an individuals, we are part and parcel of society. We are integral part of society. But we have seen that the state, the institution of state, is a recent phenomena. The European countries, they started talking about state only in later part of 16th century. I told you, right? So society came first. It is the society which came first. Then it was realized that for orderly human existence, we need central political authority. That peaceful and orderly existence within a human society, it is not possible without existence of a centralized political authority. So in this context, the institution of state emerged. It was created in this context. I told you in the beginning, right? Go and listen to that particular 5 minutes. I told you this, that society, human beings desire for peaceful coexistence. Human beings desire for peace and order and safety led to creation of the state. So society was already there, and state, the institution of state, was created later on. So in terms of origin, in terms of historic origin, which came first? It is a society which came first. It is a society which is prior to the state. All right, fine, good. So society is larger and wider than the state, and society is prior to the state as well. ठीक है. Now, the next important difference, listen to me carefully, that society is a natural institution. Society is a natural institution, whereas state is an artificial institution. Isn't this lecture very interesting? Wherein we are able to differentiate between state, nation, society, association, so on and so forth. Now that's the beauty of social sciences. You know, fine. So society is natural institution. How? I've already told you that human beings are social in nature. We cannot exist in isolation. We cannot live in isolation. We are part and parcel of society. We cannot exist without society. पागल हो जाएंगे. सोसाइटी में रहना ही है. Because no individual is self-sufficient. We are all interdependent with each other, and that interdependence of human beings is manifested in the society through the society. The society is a very natural institution. Society is unique and a natural institution. Whereas state was an artificial institution, meaning state was created by human beings. Huh? State was created by human beings. When they need this, when individuals needed, they created the state. For example, पहले सोसाइटी में रह रहे थे, फिर बाद में पता चला कि यार अगर एक सेंट्रलाइज पॉलिटिकल अथॉरिटी नहीं रहेगी जो लॉ बनाएगी, लॉ को इंप्लीमेंट करेगी और लॉ को एग्जीक्यूट करेगी, इन्फोर्स करेगी, तब तक जो है ये सोसाइटी में देयर विल बी वॉर ऑफ ऑल अगेंस्ट ऑल, देयर विल बी एनार्की, देयर विल बी chaos, and there will be disorder. And because of this, institution of state was created. So institution of state is artificial. State was created by human beings to satisfy their own needs. Whereas society is a natural institution. Nobody created society. Society was already there. It is very natural institution. It cannot be created. It cannot be manufactured. It is not artificial. It is natural. Because we are social animals. We cannot live without society. We can live without state. Understand this. We can live without state. And human beings have lived without state. Yes. State क्या है? Population, sovereignty, government and territory. तो state तो बाद में आया. तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि human beings थे ही नहीं. No. Understand, living in a society is not possible. Living without society is not possible. But living without state is possible. It's just that if you live without state, then there will be problems. There will be chaos and anarchy and disorder. But yes, human beings is, but there might be a situation wherein people are good. There might be a situation wherein people respect each other and they can live together without state. ऐसा हो सकता है. ठीक है, स्टेट तो बाद में क्रिएट किया. सो ह्यूमन बींग्स कैनॉट लिव विदाउट सोसाइटी. वी कैन लिव विदाउट स्टेट, बट वी कैनॉट लिव विदाउट सोसाइटी. दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट डिफरेंस. ठीक है, इंडियन स्टेट नहीं है चलेगा, लेकिन इंडियन सोसाइटी होनी चाहिए. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट मी गिव यू दिस इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जाम्पल. The people living in the tribal communities, the primitive tribal communities living in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, Jarawa, Sentinelese, so on and so forth, they do not even know what is state. They do not even know that they are part of Indian state, because they do not interact with outsiders. But they are living since time immemorial. There exists Sentinelese society. There exists Jarawa society. But there is no Jarawas. They are not part of, they don't consider, they don't have this notion that we are part of nation state, Indian state. Right? So they are living in a society. वो isolation में नहीं रह रहे कि एक ही person नहीं, वहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोग हैं. 25, 30, 100 people, they are living together in a society. and they're living peacefully. There is no state. There is no state, there is no police, there is no legislature, there is no executive or judiciary, sorry. There is no state in their mind. They are just living within their society. So it is possible. From this example, you will know that it is possible to live without state, but it is not possible to live without society. Society is a natural institution. The root cause of society, the root cause of existence of society is social nature of human beings. All right, good. I hope this is clear. Now, what is the other difference? What is the other difference? We have seen that it is the state which is sovereign. It is the state which is supreme power or authority. So, sovereignty is an essential characteristic of the state. State cannot exist without sovereignty. A state which is not sovereign, it cannot be called as state itself. Sovereignty is inseparable part of the state. Sovereignty is the most defining and the most important characteristic of the state. But sovereignty is not essential characteristic of the society. Society is not sovereign. Sovereignty does not belong to the society. Sovereignty belongs to only one institution, and that is the state. All right, sovereignty is an essential and integral part of the state, but society is not sovereign. There is no notion of sovereignty related to with society. No. Right, so society can exist without sovereignty or without any supreme power or authority, but state cannot exist without sovereignty. Sovereignty is essential. Without sovereignty, state is nullified. State cannot exist. ठीक है, फाइन. तो ये हो गया. और क्या कह सकते हैं हम? What are the other differences? Now, another difference between state and society is that state, we have seen that state must have fixed territory. State should have fixed or definite territory. But society may or may not. Society may or may not have definite or fixed territory. Now let me explain this. क्या कह रहा हूं मैं? State has fixed or definite territory. We have seen that among the four elements, second element, first was population, second is the fixed and definite territory. It is an integral element of the state along with the other three elements. But society may or might not have definite or fixed territory. For example, tribal people. Imagine tribal people. Tribal people, they move from one place to other place. There are many tribal people communities in India. I mean, in the past, go in ancient times. The tribal communities, they used to shift from one place to other place. Even in Northeast, there are certain tribal communities, they shift from one place to other place. They practice what is called as jhum cultivation, slash and burn cultivation. So they do not have fixed or definite territory. They keep on shifting their territory, right? But they have society. They are part of society. Okay, so society may or may not have fixed or definite territory. It can have indefinite territory, or it cannot have its territory is not permanent. The territory of society is not permanent. It can keep changing. But the territory of state has to be fixed or definite. ऐसा तो नहीं कि इंडियन स्टेट आज ये इंडियन स्टेट का टेरिटरी या बाउंड्री आज ये है और 50 साल या 20 साल पहले अलग था, ठीक है, मोर और लेस, हाँ मोर और लेस। फिर आप बोलोगे सर सिक्किम आया, गोवा आया, पोर्टुगल आया, प्रिंसी स्टेट्स आया, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ, आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू दैट, ठीक है, जस्ट थिंक अबाउट दिस डिफरेंस, ठीक है। द सोसाइटी जो है उसकी टेरिटरी शिफ्ट हो सकती है। अनदर एग्जांपल लेट मी गिव यू, इस्लामिक सोसाइटी, there is something called as Islamic society which transcend one territory. People belonging to a religion of Islam, they consider themselves as a part of Islamic society. They do not, but they do not live in a fixed territory. So Islamic society does not have fixed territory or fixed. It is not कि Islamic society सिर्फ पाकिस्तान में है या इंडिया में है या किसी एक्स वाई जेड में, नो. So society may or might not have fixed or definite territory. An Islamic society is an example for that. It transcends territory. People do not live in same territory, but still they consider themselves as a part of Islamic community. And whenever the religion of Islam or Christianity is under threat, the people belonging to Islamic society or Christian society, they protest, they oppose this, and they speak against that. है कि नहीं, समझ में आया आपको? Good. Then next important difference. See, you don't need to memorize all these differences, हाँ, कि सर ने 5 पॉइंट्स बताए तो 5 के 5 पॉइंट इंपॉर्टेंट, ऐसे बहुत सारे डिफरेंसेस है जो मैंने अभी बताया नहीं आपको, बिकॉज मेरा पर्पस आपको क्वांटिटी ऑफ डिफरेंसेस देना नहीं है, गिनाना नहीं कि ये डिफरेंस है. द बेसिक पर्पस ऑफ दिस लेक्चर इज टू गिव यू सम सॉर्ट ऑफ कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी about these issues, to ensure that whenever you guys come across any such concepts, you should have that confidence, you should be confident to know about this difference. ठीक है, तो ये पर्पस है. ठीक है, तो मेमोराइज करने की कोशिश मत करो, याद करने की कोशिश मत करो, सिर्फ ध्यान दो कि किस तरह से डिफरेंस है. ठीक है, सो नेक्स्ट इज स्टेट इज बेस्ड ऑन लॉज एंड रूल्स. क्या है? स्टेट इज बेस्ड ऑन laws, rules, constitution is the supreme law of the land, etc. Now even society has rules. Even society is based on some sort of, no society can exist without some common rules and regulations. ठीक है, but the rules of the society, they are called as customs, traditions, norms, values, practices, etc. So state is based on laws, rules, whereas predominantly society is based on customs, age old customs, traditions, norms, values, practices, etc. Right? Every society is based on customs and traditions. For example, Hindu society or say Islamic society is based on their age old customs and traditions and values and norms, whereas state is based on laws. Now what is the difference between laws and customs and traditions? क्या डिफरेंस है? क्या डिफरेंस है बताता हूं. Laws of the states, they are written, they are clear, they are written and clear, whereas the customs and traditions of the society, customs और से practices, कहीं लिखे हुए क्या? नहीं. They are usually they are unwritten. And they are vague. They are vague, unwritten, and indefinite. It is definite. Laws are written. The right to Indian state is governed through various laws, like Right to Information Act 2005, Forest Rights Act 2006, right? There are so many laws, okay, which are written and which are very clear. They are publicly promulgated. Everybody know it is in public domain. Everybody knows that. ठीक है, so they are clear cut है कि ये लॉ है. अगर आप रेड लाइट को क्रॉस करोगे तो आपको जो है मॉनेटरी फाइन देना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, और ये क्लियर कट लॉ इसमें लिखा हुआ है, ट्रैफिक रूल्स में लिखा हुआ है, या मोटर व्हीकल एक्ट 1980 में लिखा हुआ है, क्लियर कट रिटन है और क्लियर है. बट द कस्टम्स एंड ट्रेडिशंस एंड प्रैक्टिसेस दे आर अनरिटन, दे आर वेग. अब आप कहोगे सर वेदा में तो लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है, कि अगर हिंदू कपल अगर इसके क्या बोलते हैं उसके अग्नि के साक्षी मान के 7 फेरे अगर निकालते हैं तो वो सर ये तो लिखा हुआ है. बट मोस्ट ऑफ, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट एक्सेप्शन, मोस्ट ऑफ द ट्रेडिशंस एंड कस्टम्स एंड प्रैक्टिसेस दे आर अनरिटन. ठीक है, दे आर जस्ट बेस्ड ऑन स्मृतिज, oral tradition. They are called as oral traditions. They are oral. Customs and traditions are oral. They are unwritten and they are vague. They are vague. Nobody has clarity. For example, take the case of triple talaq. See, Maulvis and every Maulvis and the religious leaders, they have their own interpretation of what is called as Sharia. कोई कहता है कि नहीं ट्रिपल तलाक का प्रैक्टिस लिखा ही नहीं है इसमें. I mean, Islam, the religion of Islam does not sanction triple talaq. कुछ कहते हैं नहीं ये तो हमारा essential religious practices है, state should not intervene, so on and so forth, right? So customs, so we are not discussing about triple talaq and so on. So I just gave you example, and I don't want to go into that. Okay, we might discuss about triple talaq, uniform civil code in some other lecture, but for this lecture or this part, just understand that customs and practices are more or less, they are unwritten, they are vague and indefinite. कोई end नहीं है, कोई शुरुआत नहीं है. ठीक है, that is the difference. ठीक है. Society is based on customs and traditions. Modern states are based on laws, rules and regulations which are written, which are definite, which are clear. Now another difference, the laws of state, they are binding. They are binding in nature. Binding in nature means if you violate the laws of the state, then you will be punished. There is some kind of force or coercion which is attached with laws. Laws are binding. You cannot say that I don't want to obey the traffic rules. No. There is some kind of force or coercion associated with laws of the state. They are binding in nature, and if someone violates the laws of the state, then the coercive apparatus of the state, it has power to punish the individuals. Be it they can put it in, individuals can be put in jail. For example, if you violate the traffic rules, based on that nature of that violation, you might be the fine might be imposed on you, or you might be in prison. It depends on the gravity and nature of the offense. Whereas the customs and traditions, they are not binding in strict sense of the term. They are not binding. They are voluntary. Nobody is saying that you should at the birth of a child you should perform this particular puja, और ये sacrifice करना है, ये पूजा और हवन करना है. ये क्या है? ये binding नहीं है. मैं as an Hindu I might follow that or I might not follow that. ठीक है. So customs and traditions, they are not binding, they are voluntary. People follow various customs and traditions because they feel that they are universal in nature, since these customs and traditions are being followed by successive generations. Then we must also follow those traditions and customs, and that's why people in India more often than not they follow the customs and tradition. अगर पूछेंगे ना किसी को, मम्मी को पूछेंगे, अपने पेरेंट्स को पूछेंगे कि यार ब्राह्मण ही क्यों, ये शादी के टाइम पे ब्राह्मण ही क्यों चाहिए, कोई दूसरे कास्ट का पर्सन क्यों नहीं चाहिए, व्हाट इज द साइंटिफिक रैशनैलिटी बिहाइंड इट, तो आपको आंसर क्या मिलेगा? ज्यादा क्वेश्चन मत पूछो, डोंट आस्क क्वेश्चंस. ये होते आ रहा है ज़माने से, एज ओल्ड टाइम से ये होते आ रहा है, और इसीलिए जो है हम भी इसको फॉलो करें. डोंट आस्क क्वेश्चंस. But if someone says that no, I will marry in court, क्या होगा? ठीक है. So I mean, customs and traditions, I will tell you क्या होगा. ठीक है. Customs and traditions, they are not binding in nature, they are voluntary. People may or may not follow them. Now what happens when people do not obey law? When people do not obey the laws of the state, then they are punished by imposing fine on them or by putting them in jail. But when customs and traditions of the society are violated, then at most what that society can do is to expel that person from society. That is called as boycott. Boycott that person. No? मैं socially exclude कर सकते हैं उसको, ostracize कर सकते हैं, बस यही कर सकते हैं. Ostracize that from today onwards you will not be considered as part of Hindu society. Right? So if customs and traditions of the society are not followed, then at most the society can boycott you, it can exclude you from the society, or it can ostracize that nobody should talk to this person. But beyond that, you cannot be put in jail. Fine नहीं लगेगा आपके ऊपर. ठीक है. Now this is the difference. This is the last difference. There are other differences as well, but I felt that these are important differences, and that's why I thought to spend a little time on them. Okay, I hope the difference between state and society is clear. Now next and the final concept is association. ठीक है, क्या क्या डिस्कस किया है? स्टेट, गवर्नमेंट, नेशन, है ना. स्टार्ट में रिकलेक्ट इट, मैंने ये लिखा था बोर्ड में, नेशन, देन सोसाइटी, एंड देन फिफ्थ वाज एसोसिएशन. We have already covered this 4. Now let's discuss association. Now what is association? Every day or the other we come across so many associations, so many organizations, but what exactly association means? Now association is a group of people having some common goals and objectives which they seek to achieve through collective efforts. That is called as association. Association is a group of people. It is a group of people who have shared goals and objectives. Which they seek to achieve. Sorry for my handwriting. Through what? In isolation. Do the members of association, they seek to achieve their goals in isolation? No, through collective or joint efforts. Now this is the definition of association. So association should have group of people. They must have shared goals and objectives, and there should be some kind of collective efforts. These are the 3 important elements of association. That association should have group of people, it should have some shared goals and objectives, and it should have collective efforts. People should be able to join together. There should be some kind of effort, collective effort, in order to achieve those goals and objectives. This is association. So now what are the examples of association based on this? Can you think of any example? Yes? Family. This is the closest of the association. Then we have religious institutions such as church, temple, See, I have seen people, when they say association, they only use the term church. अरे ये वेस्टर्न ऑथर्स और ये थिंकर्स ने ये चर्च लिखा है बिकॉज दे बिलोंग टू दिस रिलीजन. So don't use specific religious institution. Just use the term, generic term, religious institutions. ठीक है? Fine. Then there are certain associations such as another example, जैसे ये हो गया resident welfare associations. है ना, कॉलोनी में भी, हर एक कॉलोनी में ये residents welfare associations होते हैं, RWAs. ठीक है? Then there are clubs, cricket club, football club, cricket club, football club. Now these are the etc. These are broadly the examples of association. So family is a group, is an association of a people who have shared goals and objective which they seek to achieve through joint efforts, collective effort. ना फैमिली में भी collective effort होता है कि यार हमारा एक फैमिली की गोल्स है, ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हम साथ मिलके उसको अचीव करते हैं. सेम इज विथ चर्च, और सेम विथ रिलीजियस इंस्टीट्यूशन, सेम इज विथ रेसिडेंट्स वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन की हमारा एक ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल है, हमारे शेयर्ड गोल्स और ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या होता है कि यार क्लीनिनेस रहे, स्ट्रीट लाइटिंग रहे, हाँ, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर रहे, कोई बाहरी जो है वो ट्रेसपास नहीं करे. दीज आर सर्टन शेयर्ड गोल्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स. ठीक है? कल्चरल फेस्टिवल सेलिब्रेट करे. तो ये क्लब ऑल्सो हैज सर्टन शेयर्ड गोल्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल क्रिकेट क्लब, right? Every association have their shared goals and objectives, right? So this is called as association. Association is a group of people who have shared goals and objectives which they seek to achieve through collective efforts. That's association. So now what is difference between association and state? Because at the beginning I told you that state is also a kind of association, which is political association. So is or are all the associations same? No. Associations and state is not same. So what is difference between association and state? Let's discuss this. Now first and the most important difference between association, see, state is also an association. State is a political association. There are multiple types of associations. State is one of the association, but state is different than other associations. How? Now first is the membership of state. Membership of state is compulsory. Membership of state is compulsory, whereas the membership of sorry for this. Sorry for the disturbance, girls. All right, so girls and boys, sorry. See, I teach in girls college, so I have that habit. Sorry. So membership of state is compulsory. You cannot say that I do not want to become a member of state. अगर ऐसा करोगे तो जेल में जाएंगे. ठीक है? बट या तो फिर किसी और कंट्री में जाके रहो. सो मेंबरशिप ऑफ स्टेट इज कंपल्सरी, बट मेंबरशिप ऑफ एसोसिएशन इज नॉट कंपल्सरी. इट इज वॉलंटरी. मेंबरशिप ऑफ एसोसिएशन इज वॉलंटरी. Whether you want to remain a member of cricket club or say residents welfare association, it's up to you. Many of the people who reside in residents welfare association, they do not pay fee. They say, no, I don't want to become a member of residents welfare association. Another example, there is Delhi University Teachers Association, DUTA. So there are so many teachers who do not consider themselves as a part of DUTA. They say, no, we are not part of DUTA. No. So membership of association is voluntary. There is no compulsion. Nobody can compel you to become a part of any association. So membership of association is based on discretion. It is voluntary in nature. Whereas membership of state is compulsory. You don't have any choice. You have to be a member of state. You don't have any other choice. As simple as that. Okay? And if you feel that you are not a member of state as an association, you have to leave the country. You have to leave the state. But when you stay within the state, And when you are a citizen of a state, and you cannot say that, no, I don't want to become a member of Indian state. No, it's not like that. ठीक है, ये है difference. First. दूसरा difference है that at one time you can be a member of only one state. Indian state, member or citizen of one state, citizen of India, citizen of Pakistan. Yeah, there are some countries which basically allow dual citizenship, but we are not discussing citizenship. Citizenship and state is little different. ठीक है, हम मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ, understand the essence that at one time a person can be a member of one state only. A person can owe his or her allegiance to only one state. But when it comes to other associations, member can be a part of one or more than one associations. For example, at one time I can be a member of a religious institution, I can be a member of residents welfare association, I can be a member of football club. So as an individual, I can remain a member of multiple associations. But when it comes to state, the membership of state is one. We cannot, there is a single membership. At one time you can be a member of only one state. One state, हाँ, citizenship की बारे में बात नहीं करो, one state, ठीक है, this. Now next is sovereignty. Very important, sovereignty. State is a political organization which is political association or organization which is sovereign. State is a supreme authority. State is a supreme power within a given territory, within a fixed territory. Whereas association is not supreme. And other associations are subordinate. Other associations are inferior in front of state. State is supreme, and all other associations apart from state, they are secondary in nature. They are subordinated as compared to their subordinate. They are subordinate, they are secondary, they are inferior as compared to the state. It is the state which is sovereign and supreme authority. All the other associations and organizations have to obey the laws and rules framed by the state. Right? You cannot say Residents Welfare Association the rules of Residents Welfare Association should be obeyed by Indian state. No, you cannot say. But on the other hand, the rules every association and organizations have to obey the rules and regulations framed by the state. Why? Because state is supreme, state is sovereign. All the other associations are not sovereign. They have to live within the limitations of state's rules and regulations. ठीक है, तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट, सॉवरेंटी. ठीक है, then state in context of territory, state is national. State is national, na? State is national scope. State is national. Whereas association can be local, association can be provincial, association can be national, or association can be international as well. Yes, the nature of state is national in nature. So you will realize the meaning of the sentence when you discuss this, that the nature of association can be local in nature. For example, Residential Welfare Association of Delhi, a particular area of Delhi, North Delhi, South Delhi, it's a local in nature. So association can be local in nature. Associations can be provincial in nature. For example, Delhi University Teachers Association is an association of Delhi University, so it is provincial. Delhi के सारे teachers जो Delhi University के वो, या फिर भारतीय किसान यूनियन, it is an association. It is a non-government association, or it is a civil society organization which has members, for example, from state of UP, BKU, Bharatiya Kisan Union, Rakesh Tikket branch is a provincial organization. It is not a national organization. Okay. Next is national. So BCCI, you can say that it is a national level body. Okay. Election Commission of India, national level body. Then there are other associations. They can be international as well. Take an example of Greenpeace, okay, Seva, so on and so forth. Okay. But state is national in nature. Association can be international, local, and so on and so forth. Okay. Local, regional, provincial, national, international. But state is predominantly national in nature. There is no international state, right? There is no कहीं आपने देखा कि ये इंटरनेशनल स्टेट है, यहाँ पे एक वर्ल्ड पार्लियामेंट है, वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. तो स्टेट इज प्रिडोमिनेंटली नेशनल in nature. So state, an association can go beyond territory. Associations can transcend territory. The membership of associations can transcend territory as well. Whereas state is predominantly national in nature. है ना? फॉर एग्जाम्पल ग्रीन पीस के कितने सारे ब्रांचेस है, इंडिया में भी ब्रांच है, यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में भी ब्रांच है. उसी तरह रेड क्रॉस सोसाइटी, इट इज इंटरनेशनल एसोसिएशन, बट स्टेट इज प्रिडोमिनेंटली नेशनल इन नेचर. ऑलराइट, सो दिस इज डिफरेंस. Now I hope the difference between association and state is clear. Now, despite of this difference, you have to understand that associations, apart from state, they play very important role in any given state. For example, number one, they reduce the burden of the state. By performing certain voluntary activities, they reduce the burden of the state. Take example of voluntary organization, NGOs, who are performing, who play important role in health. There are many NGOs and civil society organizations which are playing important role in health, education, sanitation, drinking water supply, so on and so forth. They are so that reduce. They reduce. One way or the other way, they reduce the burden of the state, right? In fact, there are some associations which play more important role than the state. Take example of association organization. Take example of family. The psychological support which the institution or of association of family gives, that cannot be given by the state. Or certain pressure groups or interest groups might not perform that important function the way state performs. Like if I am a member of pressure group or interest group, then for me that is most important. For me it is more important than the state, because I am getting directly benefit. My interest and needs and demands and aspirations are being channeled through this particular pressure group or interest group. So sometimes some associations can play a more important role than the state. So that's why state should allow these organizations and institutions to perform without any undue interference. In every democracy, associations and organizations, they play a very important role. All right. So on one hand, the state should not interfere unduly in the functioning of associations and organizations. It should allow the organizations and associations to flourish and to exist. At most state can do is to coordinate or supervise or some kind of regulate the associations. State can regulate the associations, state can coordinate the relationship between the associations. Actions of associations can regulate their affairs, common affairs, but it should not unduly interfere into the domain of, into the functioning of the associations. Why? Because it's very important. They play a very important role in democracy. They're essential part of participatory democracy. So on one hand, state should respect the existence of association. On other hand, associations has to respect the state as well. They have to respect the sovereignty of the state. They have to respect the laws and rules of the state. So both are equally important. Understand the relationship. All right. So with this, I guess all the concepts are clear. Okay. If you have any questions, any doubt, you can contact our Cube office. Okay. So the basic purpose of this lecture is that, do not take concepts for granted. Concepts are very important. Conceptual clarity is very important. So I hope from now onwards, while writing your answers, you will not use these terms interchangeably. Because now you know that state is different than government. Government is different than state. Associations are different than state. State in society, they are different. It is the state which is part of society. State is servant of society. Society is master. State only serves the society, the needs and aspirations of the society. And if the state does not serve needs and aspirations of the society, then society might revolt or rebel against that state. So this kind of conceptual clarity is essential in order to understand various concepts of polity and governance. All right, so thank you so much for listening to me. In next lecture, I am going to discuss the very important concept of democracy. I am going to discuss three concepts. What is democracy? Why democracy is important? What are the types of democracy? Then what is secularism? What is the difference between Indian model of secularism and Western model of secularism? And third is about citizenship. What is citizenship, right? See you in the next class. All right, thank you so much.